Entrepreneurship, business, and the people who make the world go round. What advice do they have? What struggles did they overcome? My name is Philip Benz, and these are the questions I have. Welcome to Black Tie Optional. All right, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. It's been a while since we've actually sat down, interviewed. The cool thing about you guys is that you guys are one of my first big clients, almost 11 years ago now. That's when everything was $5.99.
Wow.
Yep.
Those are the days.
Now, for everyone that doesn't know who you are and what you guys do, what's your name?
I'm Bret Oliverio, and I own Sup Dogs restaurant here downtown, and we have another location in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And we're opening up a micro distillery sort of across from Sup Dogs. So that's what I do day in and day out.
And that was a pretty recent announcement too.
Yeah, we we had a property, and we were sort of trying to figure out what we wanted to do with it. And I always we'd sell more flavored vodka than anybody in the state. We're a huge vodka account.
Yeah.
So my thought was, the state changed all the distillery laws, wanting more distilleries here in North Carolina. So my thought was, why not make vodka for ourselves and, attach a cocktail bar to it. And hopefully people can come have a fresh cocktail, maybe take home a bottle of our vodka. And worst case scenario, we're making spirits for ourselves and selling it to ourselves. So
yeah. And the cool part about that whole thing is that I think everyone in Greenville who has gone to Sup Dogs has made a Sub Crush at their house at some point.
Yeah, I know that, and I love that. We literally every week I'm mailing out our Sup Crush cups for people's weddings and signature drinks, and like last week, someone took home like 500 of them, and then another guy, this dude was like 60, had like a guy's weekend in Florida, and I gave him like 10 cups. So
we have a collection at our house.
Oh, nice.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
Top shelf, dishwasher safe. So yeah, it's pretty cool. The drink just feels right in that cup in your hand.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is that when you go around in different places, like me and my wife, we went to go eat at a place in Virginia Beach, and they had an orange crush. And I went ahead and I asked the waiter, I was like, this is kind of like a Sup Crush. Have you ever heard of that? They're like, yeah, Sup Dogs in Greenville.
Really?
Yeah, over in Virginia Beach. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Signature cocktail.
It's sort of a debate, like where that drink originated from. Was it Delaware, Virginia Beach, Ocean City, Maryland? We sort of just brought it here, kind of took it to the next level. And, for us, it's all about, the fresh squeezed juice. The weather's nice, college town, fun, high energy. The fresh squeezed juice, the fruit gets squeezed in front of your face. Now you sort of add vodka that we're making fresh, sort of adds to the experience. So that's the idea. We'll see how it goes when it opens.
It's the atmosphere of Sup Dogs that I love the most. The food's extremely good, but the atmosphere is awesome because you can see East Carolina right there. And there's not that many universities that are located right in the heart of their downtown. Normally you have to take a bike or, take a car or a train or something like that to actually get to the downtown area. But the fact that you can just walk straight from ECU's campus or vice versa, the atmosphere is awesome.
Thank you.
And then the fact that you guys added the second story as well.
Yeah, we had to find a way to expand. But, what I tell everyone is anybody could serve a beer. Anybody can serve a hot dog. What it comes down to is the people. So do people that work for your business, do they enjoy coming to work? Obviously some days are going to suck. It's work. It's going to be 90 degrees and you're serving outside and sauce is spilling down your leg. But, do the people, it's the culture right? Are the people on your staff want to come into work? Because ultimately I think that affects the customer experience. And for the most part, our staff enjoys being at work. They enjoy being around each other. And to me, there's nothing more important than the culture of the restaurant from an employee standpoint. Food, Sup Crushes, micro distillery, sauce, all that stuff is like customers. That's way back burner. Everything is all about the people and the culture.
Yeah, and the people and the culture that you've built over the years, just speaks highly because when you guys first started, we'll kind of get into the early days. You've told that story 1,000 times, but the early days, it's kind of like that energy has flowed from the beginning to now, the concept has never changed from like the perspective of this is the bar that we want to be. But it's just grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where consistency is key. You know, I think people like knowing when they come into Sup Dogs what they're going to get. You know, the menu's not seasonal. It's not changing all the time. So it's kind of a balancing act between keeping things the same and giving people what they want and what they know, but also evolving, improving, getting better each and every day. So how can you sort of tie those things together? That's always the challenge, and I think we've done a pretty good job of doing that. But you know, that's not to say if we don't continue to work that it couldn't go the other direction. So
now you told the story 1,000 times. For those that don't know, how did Sup Dogs start?
Yeah. My little brother sort of came up with this idea that he wanted to start a specialty hot dogs, specialty burgers, beer, liquor in a high energy college atmosphere. And he's like, this is what he was in college, went to JMU where I went. And he's like, this is what I want to do. And you know, our family really didn't have any money, but my dad took out a home equity loan to give him, you know, a little bit of money to start this restaurant. My sister went to school here, so that's kind of how we got to know the downtown area. We found this little hole in the wall right there on 5th and Reed in downtown. And my brother opened up Sup Dogs with, you know, zero work experience. He did work in a restaurant. In fact, my wife waited tables with my brother for a really long period of time. So we just thought, okay, well, here's Derek's pipe dream. We'll see what happens.
Is that how you and Jenny ended up meeting?
No.
That would have been funny too.
Yeah, no, we met through.
It would come full circle at that point.
We met when I worked in radio through one of her friends, but you know, she was waiting tables part time, and when my brother graduated college, they worked together for, you know, almost a year before he moved down to Greenville to start Sup Dogs. So that was, and the crazy part is he started Sup Dogs right in August of 2008. And a lot of people think we've been open for like 30 years. We're going on 15, but I mean, August 2008, the world's melting down. You know, huge recession, stock market's crashing. Who knows what's going to happen to, you know, real estate markets crashing. And here my dad is taking a home equity loan to help my brother start his dream. So, yeah, August 2008, he opened Sup Dogs, and then, you know, a lot of people forget the story. They think like I started or I was the owner. You know, people really don't know or care that much. It's been such a long time. But he was coming home from work in September of 2011, and like 3 a.m. his house was on fire. He went inside to try to save his dogs, and then never made it out. So he passed away of smoke inhalation in September 2011. And that's sort of how I got into the business. 3 weeks later, Jenny and I, my wife and I, got married, and then we just sort of were talking like, you know, we had pretty successful careers. You know, I worked in radio and television. She worked in sales. She sold online homeschool curriculum. We were like, look, you know, we just sort of started talking like, what if we just quit our jobs and moved to Greenville and took over Sup Dogs and see what we could make of it. And, you know, that's what we did. So February 1st, we broadcasted live from the Super Bowl in end of January 2012. And then literally 2 days later, the moving truck came. We moved to Greenville, took over Sup Dogs, and we've been here ever since.
And, you know, they always say, you know, don't make big decisions like when tragedy happens and stuff like that. But I mean, I could imagine that you didn't want to see what your brother built just like come to an end like that. So how hard was that decision trying to figure out, pick up, leave, and take over where he left off?
Yeah, it's, you know, I do sort of agree with don't make huge decisions when you're emotional, because it was still an incredibly emotional time. But it almost benefited me because My wife had worked in restaurants. I'd never worked in a restaurant. I'm sort of glad I didn't know what I was getting myself into, because if I did, I might
Probably would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was way harder, way more intense, way more hurdles, way more obstacles. It was a lot more than I could have imagined. So from that aspect, I'm glad I just made the decision and just did it. Otherwise, I might not have done it. But I am super glad that we made that decision. And look, all the credit goes to my wife, and I tell everyone this because, I mean, there's not many people that would. I mean, I was 30, she was 34, I believe, at the time, and that would just, quit your jobs, move away from all your family to this random college town to take over this tiny little rundown hot dog restaurant.
And for the longest time, I mean, she was there, serving the tables, greeting everyone, doing her thing.
Yeah. I mean, she was grinding there right along with me. I mean, the plan when we moved down was like, look, let's, let me work for a month. You stay here, get the apartment ready, sort of establish us a life here, figure out where the grocery stores are and Starbucks, and then you come into work in the restaurant. That's what we did. And I remember the days where we were like, I was like, Jenny, we need you to work Saturday night till 3 a.m. because we needed the $150 in tips. Because we didn't have any money. The business really didn't have any money, and we just had to sort of grind and survive. And that's what we did. And, all credit goes to her because she's working behind the bar for $150. You got these drunk college kids being like, so what's your major? I mean, she is 34. Yeah, she, and then also her experience having worked in restaurants helped a lot. I mean, I remember, I've told the story a bunch. Like, I remember coming home like maybe a week or two into just sort of doing this and just being like, I don't know if I could do this. It's, I don't know. I barely know the staff. I don't know anything. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. And I was just pretty distraught about everything. And I remember it was like midnight one night. I was talking to her about this. She's like, look, basically like, don't be a bitch. Go in, walk around, talk to people, give them refills, bring them food. You'll sort of know who wants to talk to you, who doesn't want to talk to you, and just walk around and say hi to everyone. And the people that don't want to talk to you, you'll know it immediately. And the people that do want to talk to you, talk to them. Build relationships with them. Just do that every day. I was like, all right. So that's what I did for like, the next 3 months. I mean, who knows? And then, I really had a mentality also of, I'm going to be the dumbest guy in the room, but at some point I'm going to be better than everyone at this. And I firmly believe that in my mind. So I remember I would ask people the world's dumbest questions, and they would sort of laugh like, wait, what did you just ask me? And then, but in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep showing up, and then I'm going to be better than you. It's just a matter of time. So luckily I had that confidence, whether, it might've been delusional, but, that's sort of what I kept telling myself at the time.
And you mentioned something that the reason why I started this podcast was there's a lot that goes on to owning a business. A lot of people from the outside looking in, especially a successful business, they automatically just assume like everything has been amazing from day one. And they don't realize that Jenny had to work behind the bar because you guys needed that $150. It's not just like a cash cow coming in to where it's like, oh, yep, you're set. We open the doors. We're good to go. We can walk away and just let the staff do their thing. Tell me about some of the pitfalls that you guys had to really come over to get to where you are today. Like some of those hard times.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sort of endless. I mean, we were lucky that, when we got here to Sup Dogs, there were people coming through the door, but there was really no money in the bank. So just putting processes in place to, sort of, I mean, my brother started Sup Dogs at like 23. I think he was 23 or 24, if I remember. So imagine being 23 here at ECU, starting a bar. with not much experience. So his strength was making the place cool, bringing people through the door, but his strength certainly wasn't having the business processes in place to be successful long term. Luckily when we got down here, I was married, had my wife to sort of, kick things around with. And so it was really tough though, sort of, you have people come in the door, but you have no money. So let's set up the business processes of operating a successful restaurant. But, I had no idea how to do that.
How do you do that? Yeah.
Watch Bar Rescue, Google. I mean, that's really what I did. Jenny and I would watch Bar Rescue when it first came out. I would just Google, how to, liquor costs, beer costs. I bought a book through a online scheduling software called Schedulefly, which is what we use to schedule all of our staff at both restaurants. And
they also made that documentary for you guys too.
Yeah, they did a documentary for us, but they had a book where it interviewed 30 successful restaurant owners. And I bought that book just to read what these guys were doing to make themselves successful. So it was just reading books, talking to people, asking a ton of dumb questions, watching any and all TV shows and seeing how it could relate to us.
And a lot of people are embarrassed to ask the dumb questions, but the dumb questions are the ones that you learn from those dumb questions. There's a reason why you're asking the dumb questions. Did you ever get to actually talk with John Tapper, or have you ever talked to him at all?
What's funny is he was my idol for a long time. Because keep in mind, it was right when Bar Rescue started, and
we're shutting it down.
Yeah, and the scary part was all of the things he was shutting restaurants down for, we were doing. So I was like, oh man,
I could just see you laying in bed and just waking up from a nightmare. The John Tapper's yelling at you, Jenny's just shut up.
Yeah, it could have happened if he came down. The funny part was I was in Las Vegas once for, it might have been my buddy's bachelor party, and we're sitting at the Aria having a drink, and he comes walking by. Just by himself. So I just jumped up. I'm I have to get a picture with this guy. So I was like, hey, John, can I get a big fan? Can I get a photo? And he was you could tell he kind of wanted to be recognized. He was like, yeah, hurry up.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a chance to have any conversations with him. But he was nice enough to take the photo. But yeah, so I met him one time randomly. But yeah, it was, how else do you learn any job? You just sort of do it, study it, hope to be smart enough to pick up tips and tricks and how to, sort of make money. And we were able to do that over the course of the last, 12 years we've been doing this.
So, you came into this business in a really untraditional way, but at what point did it finally click for you and Jenny that this was going to work, this was going to be successful, and this was not only something that was going to be successful, but something that you guys actually wanted to continue to pour your hearts into?
It took years. I would say we just started to get comfortable. The business, we just started putting general managers in place and management and benefits for staff and really sort of just putting all the business practices in place where, we had our first daughter and Jenny was able to sort of take a back seat, even though day in and day out, I'm still, any big decisions we still talk about all the time. And she's still pretty hands-on with the restaurants from behind the scenes. And then COVID hit and we're closed, operating at 50% capacity, just total disaster all the way around. One thing I'm proud of is, we made a commitment to keep everyone paid. So we laid off 0 people. We paid everyone in full for the time we were closed. We closed for 2 or 3 weeks and we paid everyone. It ended up being well into 6 figures that servers got their tips, managers got their salaries, bus guys, dish guys. I remember our cleaning guy in Chapel Hill, he cleaned our restaurant 7 days a week at 4 a.m. And
And when you have to open, there's no need to get it cleaned, or
right? How can I not pay this guy? I mean, and he worked for a cleaning company. He didn't work for us, but I made sure he stayed paid. And so it's like we thought we had everything good, and then boom, COVID hit, and just total disaster from all angles. But luckily, things have rebounded, and the community's just supported us day in and day out, which we're incredibly thankful for.
What did you learn from the pandemic? I mean, as far as there was so much community support, there was so much like supporting small businesses during that time, from not necessarily the government side of things, but from just like the customer side, the local side. What did you take away from that?
I remember when everything first hit and the world was shutting down, Mark Cuban, of all people, posted something on Twitter that was like, this is the moment where you will be defined on how you treat your staff and employees. And I believe that. So, we made a commitment to pay everyone for as long as we could until we just ran out of money, or, it stung so bad that we just couldn't. And I really do believe that we, operated the best way we knew how. We kept staff employed. We worked within the rules day in and day out. And, sort of when we came out the other side, the community really supported us. And that's something that, we'll never forget. And, we're just extremely thankful that, because that was a scary time. And it still was up until, not too long ago. But we're lucky we came out on the other side.
Now, business ownership is hard. You guys have been through the pandemic. Your brother started this in 2008.
Yeah.
Do you think people that want to open up a business just quit before they have achieved like that dream? Do you think they just quit too soon? What advice would you have for someone that wants to do something?
I think people might spread themselves too thin, and they don't go all in. When we jumped in this, I think people underestimate the energy and the intensity of operating a small business. If you want to be successful and provide a living for yourself and your family, you have to put 110% of yourself into the business. So, and I sometimes I'll speak to high schools or at ECU, and there's no like someone asked me the other day, oh, so who are your buddies in the industry that you hang out with? I'm like, I mean, I don't really hang out with anybody. I hang out with my family. I like to go to dinner with my wife a couple times a year. We'll have staff celebrations, but there's no like backyard barbecue every weekend, or I just really started going to games with my dad, to ECU game. I hadn't been to ECU football game in 10 years. We just started going. So
that's a major day for you guys in business.
Yeah, I have to work. I've worked every Saturday, I still have, before and after the games, but, weekends are work. I mean, it's a 24-hour day job. So people underestimate how all in you have to be. And that takes, first off, you have to sort of give up things you want to do. Everyone thinks, oh, you got all this time and you work for yourself, you can do whatever you want. No, I'm responsible for all these employees in this business machine, and it's up to me to keep it going. And then you also have the support of your wife. And I mean, what's today? Today was Monday. Friday I was in Chapel Hill working till midnight. I got home at 1 a.m. Saturday I'm working. I took my daughter to a birthday party, then I'm working till 10 p.m. on a Saturday. Like, you just, if you're not all in, it's going to be hard to sort of be successful. And another thing I tell people, especially these young kids, like, if you want to be successful, you really can't have a lot of vices. If you want to drink all the time, you want to do drugs, you want to gamble, if you have something that's taking up, outside of your business, taking up a lot of your time, especially something like drinking or drugs, or it's going to be impossible to be successful unless you're just an ultra rare talent and you can do it all. And those people exist, but that's not me. You really have to be laser focused and just all in. And if you're not, you have distractions, it's going to be tough to be successful.
Now, you came from a real job, right?
Yeah.
You were in radio before,
Yeah.
and that's not like your typical 9 to 5.
Yeah.
My neighbor, she's in radio, Laura Smith, the Mark and Laura show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I see her waking up and leaving the house at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you love the radio industry, but would you give up the entrepreneurship to go back to like a real job? Like, what keeps you going?
Yeah. I mean, when I first got into this, I remember thinking, well, we're going to give this a shot. And if it doesn't work, this was sort of my brother's dream, not mine. And I might not be, it's possible that I could have given this my all, dedicated my entire life to it and still failed. Like if you ask me to dunk a basketball, I could dedicate my life to it and I'm not going to be able to do it. I mean, it's just how it is. And this could have been the same way with operating a restaurant. But at the time I was like, look, I'll go work at Starbucks, or, I can go work at Chipotle. I don't know. I'm still not above taking an average job if I had to. That being said, I could never imagine in a million years having a traditional boss tell me what to do. But that being said, I have, operating your own small business, especially if you have a lot of employees, they're kind of your boss because you're working for them, making sure. I mean, we have managers that own homes and cars and have lives and kids, and
The effect kind of flips.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a little bit of freedom where somebody's not telling you what to do, and I don't have you have to be back in an hour for lunch, but there's a lot of people whose livelihoods are depending on you, and that in its own right is another set of pressures.
Now, throughout all the struggles that you guys have faced with the business, the highs, the lows, and all that, what's been the most rewarding part about running Sup Dogs here in Greenville, Chapel Hill, opening up this distillery? It's just down the road. What's been the most rewarding part about the whole process?
The cool part about the restaurant business is we will hire anybody who wants to be a part of a team and wants to have a good attitude and will work incredibly hard. And, most companies say they want to do that, but will you hire a convicted felon who wants a second chance at life? Most people will not. I will. If you have a positive mentality, you promise to work hard, we'll hire you. And, giving a lot of people a second chance at life when they've made some huge mistakes, whether it's addiction or just wrong place, wrong time. We've had a lot of staff that have been sort of down and out, and about as down as you could possibly be. And they come work for us, where they work incredibly hard. They sort of buy into the culture of our restaurants. And here they are making, $20 an hour. They have their own place. They feel like they're part of a team, and all of a sudden they buy a car. They might move up to management, be on a salary. I mean, we've had those type of stories. Just really, and you sort of forget about these things until you talk to people. I had a conversation with a kid the other day who I don't really want to get too much into his story, but he was just in really bad shape, and this job and the culture of a restaurant basically saved his life. And he's well on his way to be a success. And I told him, look, that doesn't do it with us. It's because you worked hard. If you didn't, and you had a bad attitude and you didn't work hard,
But you giving him that chance is just life-changing at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that is, that to me makes me feel good. And, that's incredibly rewarding. And then also, day in and day out, you kind of, lose track of, thinking about my brothers. There are days where I'm not sort of thinking like I'm just operating this business. I'm not thinking like, I'm carrying on Derek's dream and legacy, but a handful of times per year, I do take a step back and think about that and how cool he would think, the business is right now. But look, I think we have a long ways to go. I think we could get better from a million different angles. And, that's sort of what I work day in and day out trying to do.
One of Derek's things that he did was he started Doggy Jams, correct?
Yeah.
And it was like a 420 party.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me the story before. And you guys have brought it to another level. I was there for, I want to say, the second ever Doggy Jams that you guys put on, 2012.
Yeah.
That's when I came in. And you guys were doing it in your parking lot, and Just the Tip, I think that was their first year there, and they've been an ongoing success every single year.
Yeah.
Just made up band name right there once a year for Doggy Jams.
Crazy.
But you guys have brought in huge names to Greenville. And the party has just grown bigger and bigger. And it's not just the party side of things. Like, there are people that went 10 years ago to Doggy Jams that are just like, I love Doggy Jams. Like, this is great. They're grown adults now with salaries and careers, but they still want to go to Doggy Jams. So how has that whole process been, cultivating that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. Having come from radio, we did some big events geared around our morning radio show. So I was pretty familiar with putting on an event. I mean, not as big as Doggy Jams, but I knew sort of how to promote an event and how to sell tickets and, how to make it fun and exciting. So where my brother had this event on 420 and it was jam bands and people drinking Busch Light out in the parking lot, at some point it sort of transitioned, and you were there for it, to like mainstream music events. So we brought Lil Jon, DJ Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. This year we brought Loud Luxury.
You had Pauly D.
DJ Pauly D, Brody Jenner. It's every year I'm like, man, this is the last time we're gonna do it. Just because it's such a massive event. You sell 3,000 or 4,000 tickets.
It's a logistical nightmare.
It is, and you're dealing with alcohol law enforcement, the city, police, fire rescue. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. So I sort of asked myself, look, is the juice worth the squeeze on this? And it's also is not a money-making event. I mean, people see 3,000 or 4,000 people out there in the parking lot, all drinking a ton, eating a ton. It doesn't make money.
The stage costs money. The sound equipment costs money. The talent costs money. You're paying you're paying your entire staff that day. I'm sure there's no one on your staff that's off that day.
No,
I'm sure everyone is working that day.
Endless costs. So the costs are endless. I do think, from a money standpoint, we could. It's possible to break even, maybe make a little bit. Some years you lose some money, but from a goodwill and marketing standpoint, I think we come out way ahead. The exposure we get, the social media impact, what it does for our brand, to me is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think we come out way ahead, but the stress, the investment, if you spend $200,000 on an event and don't sell any tickets, you're screwed. But we've been lucky the last handful of years. We've been able to sell the tickets and everyone's out there drinking and having a good time. So I think in the end, we finish ahead in those events.
I want to talk to you about the marketing side of things. So I'm guilty of this, where in my business, my job is to market other people and other companies. So when it finally comes down to my business, I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want the time for that anymore. So you lose the marketing side of things when your business is running great. How do you guys stay relevant? What's the marketing like for you guys? Because Doggy Jams is a huge marketing event. It's a huge fun party, but it's also a huge way to get your name out there. What do you guys do on that side of things?
What keeps me up at night is just not improving, not getting better, not growing our brand, especially having a restaurant or bar in college towns. You can become not cool pretty quickly, or your food could go downhill pretty quickly if you're not making sure things are consistent. So how can you improve, get better, keep things fresh? I mean, the last thing I want to do is be the place that, I don't want some high school or college kid to be like, oh, that's a place my parents liked, which is what I want the parents to like us. But, how do we stay relevant? How do we stay, the place where everyone wants to work, the place where everyone wants to, come on game day, everyone wants to come as a freshman in orientation. And, a lot of that comes down to marketing. So, how are you perceived in other people's eyes? And, we do all the marketing in-house. So it's a full-time job learning TikTok, Instagram Reels.
How important are all those little things? Keeping up with the social media trends.
Stuff like that. Yeah, that's everything. So, and then it's traditional advertising too. Like I'm always, doing stuff with the news and
Print radio,
television. I mean, because there is a certain number of people that still watch the local news. So, I'm gonna, learn to build relationships with them. I'm gonna learn how to operate TikTok. And, the toughest part's like, if you're gonna post on Instagram and it's gonna be a bunch of college kids seeing what you're gonna post, like you can't sound like an old person. So a lot of times I go to our staff, I'm like, look, how would you caption this? Or can you edit this photo? And they'll do it.
That's super smart because there's a lot of business owners out there that won't trust their staff to do stuff like that because it's not like their name's on the line where, if the business fails, their name kind of is on the line. So going to your staff, that's a really creative way to kind of keep up with the younger generation of trends.
And a lot of times I just give them the login. I'm like, look, here's the TikTok login. Hey, here's what I want to do.
Go live for it.
Yeah, whatever you want. And
it might get you in trouble.
It could, but at that point, at least right now, I'm not really answering to anyone. So who cares? Like, if we mess up, we mess up. But and one thing my wife's always on me is like, and as you get, and another tough part is like, as you become more successful, you sort of become, and as you have kids, you become less risk adverse, and that sort of translates.
You become comfortable.
Exactly.
You hit a plateau.
And that translates to marketing. So my wife's always like, look, we got to be edgy, push the envelope. I'm like, well, the mayor follows us, or city council, and I'm like, and she's like, who cares? Post it. We got to be edgy. We got to, sort of keep pushing the envelope, and
you got to keep the dream alive.
Yeah, and sort of keep pushing our brand going forward. And but those things, everything just takes time. And how do you balance new hires and the business side of things and looking at new products and new business ventures, but still making sure the marketing stays on point? It's a lot, but it's definitely super important.
So, man, we've talked about, the beginning of Sup Dogs, doggy jams. One more big thing I definitely want to talk about is the whole Barstool thing.
Yeah.
You guys have been voted now 3 times best college bar in America.
Yeah.
How's this 4th time looking like right now?
Well, we were winning the contest every single year, so they stopped doing the contest.
Oh.
Yeah, they stopped doing it.
What's called Barstool?
They switched it to, instead of best college bar in America, best college town. No, best bar town. That's what they called it. And we did it this past year, and we finished 4th. Syracuse finished number 1. But they basically, it was pretty obvious that the contest is no fun if we win it every single year.
That is true.
So they're sort of changing the rules in the contest. Whether they go back to it next year, who knows?
Yeah.
But, they did the contest 4 years. 3 of the 4 years we won it. And then 1 year we finished 2nd, which I think was just kind of a fluke. But the last year they did it, we won it, and they've since changed the contest. But, I have an awesome relationship with Barstool. That's such a cool company, and that's way more buttoned up and professional than you would think, looking at their social media sort of presence. But, I only have great things to say about them, having worked with them on events and merchandise. I'm thankful of all the exposure they've brought us.
Do you think that you guys are the reason why they switched up this competition?
I mean, it's literally no fun if Sup Dogs wins Best College Bar in America every single year.
It's fun for you guys.
It's fun for us. I love the exposure. I'll take it. We're ready to do it. But for them, I think they wanted to sort of bring in some other people, and we should have won it this year. But who knows? Best bar town. Maybe we'll win next year.
So we can go ahead and finish this up. I want you to go back to that day where you opened up, or when you actually walked into Sup Dogs, now the new owner. Going back, is there anything that you would have changed?
I just sort of went in making the best decision I could at the time. And, I made countless bad decisions, and a lot of them cost us a lot of money. But, I think you just kind of every day you're making dozens of decisions, and you're sort of just making the best one and hope it works out. And the cool part is you don't know. You make a decision, but you don't know what it could have been if you decided another way, because, obviously you didn't make that decision. So I hope that makes sense. I think, there's little nitty gritty aspects to our restaurant, things I would have changed. But as a whole, anytime you're starting a small business, whether you're starting it from scratch or you're purchasing one or you sort of fall into one like I did, you just do your best and hope it works out. And it might not. Like, I tell people this all the time, like this, cocktail bar and distillery we're doing. Everyone think, oh, it's Sup Dogs, it'll be great, everyone will love it. It might not be. It might fail. People might not like it. So what I do to sort of put myself in the best position to succeed is to work as hard as I can possibly work, put myself in the best position to be successful. And if it doesn't work out, oh well, I'll figure that out when the time comes. But at least I know I gave it 110%, because if I gave it 85% and it failed, I don't think I'd be able to live with myself with that being the situation. But who knows what the future holds? And but I'm excited to see where everything goes, especially post-COVID, just how the community has supported Sup Dogs at both of our locations. It's pretty incredible. Even during that time, the amount of people that were supporting our business and continue to do so is just pretty incredible. And, I take a step back and think about the support we get from ECU students, from Greenville residents, people that are working here at the city. It's pretty unbelievable. And I hope our business does a good job of returning that to the community.
You guys have done pretty awesome thus far. So congratulations. Before we wrap up, how can people find you? Where are the Sup Dogs locations, social media, all that good stuff?
Yeah, if you're passing through Greenville, North Carolina, or you come to an ECU game, or your son or daughter, or you're thinking about going to ECU, we're here. We're open 7 days a week. And then the same in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, right on Franklin Street, right near the University of North Carolina. So if you're passing through this area, pop in. And then hopefully in early August, this distillery and bar will be open. So if you're over 21 and you want to come have that experience, we'll be open. So that's how you find us. I'm always interacting with everyone on social media. So the best way is to find us on Twitter or Instagram. And but yeah, I appreciate you coming in and doing this interview.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and thanks so much for watching. For more on Black Tie Optional, subscribe on YouTube by hitting the notification bell or follow us on Instagram and Facebook. To become a sponsor or donate to the podcast, shoot me an email at philipbenzpro@gmail.com. Your donations help tremendously in keeping this podcast going. Until next time, thanks again for watching, and stay motivated.